it's Jennifer McCollum from Parent Teens. I am here today with a fellow Canadian, Deanne Barrett from Radiant Mom. Hello, Deanne.
Hi, so great to be here.
So great to have you. I'm so jealous you're out there in the Rockies and I'm not. What a beautiful...
The Rockies are calling your name. Everyone's welcome.
They are, and what a beautiful, inspiring place to be, to just do the work that you're doing, which is in Radiance. So you have created Radiant Mom, and radiantmom.ca is the website. And what your business is that it's radiant leadership coaching for moms, which is beautiful. And it was on your site, and every single word spoke to me, and I just want more of it. So tell all of us listening and watching in exactly what you do, how you got to provide this coaching for moms, and what they can expect when they work with you.
Yeah, so I started working with teenagers when I was just a little bit more than a teenager myself, and I taught high school English for 14 years and loved working with teenagers. But I could see that a lot of the parents had a lot of struggle and anxiety and worrying that their kid was going to make it in this adult world. And then that would, our emotions are kind of catchy, and that would breed into the kids feeling like, I don't know, can I make it? What am I going to do? I'm scared of being a grown up. And I realized that there was a lot that we could do to support teens by supporting their parents and helping them see their teens in the way that I felt I could see them as their teacher. Like, these are incredible people, and they're going to solve a lot of the problems that our world has right now because they're thinking about things differently and bringing a fresh perspective to it. And there are some rocky times in the teenage years, but all of that is lessons along the way to figure out, who is this person? And when parents can step into asking that question of, who is this person in front of me? It's not my little boy or my little girl anymore. It's this person who's emerging as an adult. When we can step into that space and see our powerful role of guiding them and shaping them, that's where the magic happens. And we have this vision. When I ask moms, are you a leader? They're like, no, I'm not a leader, because we have this model that leadership has to be bestowed on people. Like, you have this title. But really, moms lead in such powerful ways. They are leading their children. And when we can see how that's happening and we have a model for it, then we can step into doing it in a powerful way. So from working in the classroom, then I transitioned to working with moms to support them to step into their leadership and really understand what's going to work in leading teams. Because we all know, we try and tell our kids something and they're like, I am not going to listen to that. Thank you very much. I'm going to do it my own way. And so that can make us feel like I actually am doing a horrible job of being a parent because I can't guide and lead my teen anymore. But when we can find out how we can actually do it in a way that fits with who we are and our strengths and the incredible love we have for our kids, that's when we can truly shape and guide them along the way and let go of, white knuckling it and feeling like we need to grip for control, because there's nothing more repellent to a teenager than someone who's trying to have control over them. So in a nutshell, that's the work of Radiant Moms. So the radiance is really tapping into your inner core and radiating that love out as your biggest strength when you're parenting a teenager.
And as you're talking, I'm like, check, check, check. I've done all those things. I've pushed my teens away because I've tried to keep control of them, and they are growing into their own people. I really, really love all of the work that you're doing, because I can see myself in it. I can see the guilt that I had, and I thought that I had messed up and, not done everything right. And then I can also see where I started searching for help. And this is something we talked about before we started recording, I know, but, I started thinking, what's wrong with my teen? Like, I've messed up, but what's wrong with my teen? And I love how you bring it back to, let's look at you and let's figure out how you are becoming a leader for your team. And I can tell you from personal experience that by kind of shifting the way that the perspective of what's wrong with my team to what can I do to be a better leader has made an incredible difference in my parenting world. And so this is why I just have loved the work that you're doing, and I know it can be so helpful. So today, Deanne, you are here to guide us and show us how to be great leaders for our teens. And I know you have 3 amazing tips for us. Would you walk us through how we can become better leaders for our teens, be that person that they need in their lives, so that we can radiate that love that we all feel for our teens?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here in Calgary, and my ancestors were farmers on the prairies. And so I take my metaphors from planting and gardening. And so a lot of us can relate to this. We know how it works when we're gardening. And if we put too much water on at the right time, our plants drown. If we don't water them enough, they are dehydrated. And so parenting in the teenage stage is a lot like gardening. And so the first step and this works with younger children too. So if you don't have a teen yet, a lot of people I work with have preteens. They're like, I'm nervous about teenagers. These steps will work as well when your kids are younger, and it trains you to kind of give them some breathing room. So the first step is get curious. Who is this person in front of you right now? Sometimes we think about who they were before and we long for that person, but really seeing who are they right now? What are they interested in? What do they love? What lights them up? What are they struggling with? When we can see who our child is in front of us and get curious, and the biggest piece of curiosity is, how are they thinking about their experiences? Because when we can tap into that, then we can really start to think about, if they're thinking about their experiences in this way, then how can I guide them to shift it just a little bit into a direction that might be a little bit more supportive, more positive, help them see the possibilities. So step number 1 is get curious. Who is this person in front of me? How do they think about the life that they're living? How are they interpreting their experiences? The second piece is planting the seeds of possibility inside of them. And so when we know that we plant seeds, we're not going to see fruit growing immediately, right? It takes some time. It takes some nurturing. It takes some patience. And so if you see, for example, your child is struggling to feel like they're capable of handling a situation with their peers at school, you can ask them a question. What would it be like if you spent some time with people who share your own interests? And so asking a question, you're not telling them what to do, but you're kind of planting the seed in their mind that that's something they could do. And it's up to them to decide if they're going to do it or not, which is where teens need to be, is they need to make the decision. But you're planting that seed. Or how could you do things differently? They come home and say, I had such a crummy day, like it was horrible. Tell me about it. This is the getting curious stage. And then what could you do differently? And sometimes the answer is like, I don't know, and they don't want to talk about it. And that's okay, because you planted the seed that they could do something differently to experience a different result. And so they're doing the heavy lifting. And as a teacher, I know that we get stuck in this pattern of thinking like, but I told you to do that. So we feel like, well, they learned it. It came out of my mouth. I said it, so they learned it. And as moms, we fall into that too. That is not happening, because we find ourselves, don't we, saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. But when you can instead just plant the seed of a question in their minds, then they're going to brew on it. And just like when we plant seeds, not every seed grows. And sometimes we have to reseed and reseed until we see the fruits of that. So if you can see yourself as planting seeds that can help you to lean back a little bit and feel more relaxed and give some breathing room and space to the process of planting seeds. And then the third step is celebrating the harvest, celebrating the small wins along the way. Because here's what often happens, especially as our kids get older. When they're little, we see like, oh, yay, you went on the potty, yay, and we have this big celebration because it's a small win. But as the kids get older, we feel like, oh, we'll celebrate because you had a great semester at school. And that's a really long amount of time. If we can celebrate even those small wins along the way, then we're also reinforcing those seeds that we've planted. You know, I'm really proud of you that you had that conversation with your friend because I know it wasn't easy for you. There's a win. And it's not the kind of win that we think like, oh, you got an A in this class or you made the team. It's those small wins where you're encouraging the behavior that you love to see in them. And that is such a powerful mode of teaching because it's confirming you did a great job. You're going in the right direction. That's awesome because what we focus on will grow. So if we're focusing on all the things that they're not doing well, nothing's going to grow. The negativity is going to grow, actually. If we focus on those positive things that are working well, then more of that will grow because that is a powerful way of teaching, is affirming the things that we want to see more of. If you've ever trained a dog, you know that that's true because we have this relationship where we are encouraging the behavior that we want to see. The same is true with people and in relationships. And now to help us understand this kind of full circle, the same is true for us. When we can get curious as a parent, as a mom, as a woman, who am I right now? What do I need to thrive? And then plant those seeds in our own life. What's possible? What's one little step I could take towards that thing that I want? And then celebrate the small wins along the way. Okay, I took one brave step. It wasn't comfortable, but I, talked to that other person about that thing that I want. When we're doing that in our own lives, we can see how powerful this is for our lives and our teens' lives. And we know what works for us, right? If someone was standing over me telling me all the things I didn't do well, oh gosh, I would not be flourishing. There's nothing that puts a damper on radiance like someone telling you about all the things you didn't do well. But if we have someone who's gently focusing on all the things that are working and growing that, okay, I can take one more brave step. I can have one more uncomfortable conversation that gets me in the direction that I want to go. Because that's really it. Learning is uncomfortable because we're leaning into that edge of what we weren't willing to do before. And that's what adulting is all about. Leaning into this discomfort of what, as a child, we weren't willing or able to do, and leaning further in. So when we can hold that space with our kids with that incredible love we had for them, that's where we can help them grow in the directions that we want. So really see this as leading and shaping in the direction we want, asking them to do the heavy lifting of thinking about it and allowing those seeds to grow, giving them room, celebrating when we see that harvest.
That is incredible. That is exactly the message I needed to hear today. I'm wondering if you were in our house this morning as the kids were getting ready. I my background is also in farming, and I love how you have related, the parenting and the guiding and the leadership to planting and harvesting. I love that, and that's what's going to stick in my mind. That's what I'm going to think about as we're celebrating, and we're planting those seeds and we're celebrating even those little wins. I'm thinking of, as you're talking, I'm thinking of, oh, how many celebrations can we have? So many, but oftentimes we do get caught up in the negative, and it's good to just get a reminder every once in a while. And thank you for just bringing that to the forefront, to remember to celebrate the positives. Because I feel like tomorrow morning's going to go quite different than this morning. Thanks to our chat today. Wow.
And remembering, I love that you described that, because it really is something that you circle back to. We all fall out of it, myself included. You know, radiance isn't a place where we're going to live there in bliss all of the time. Things happen. We get snappy. We forget to look for the positives, and it happens. But the more we practice, the more quickly we can be like, okay, right, celebrate the small wins. I can do that. And so it really is coming back to it. So just to give some breathing room to all of us moms who are human and get tired and snappy, to remember it's really about circling back to that and remembering those simple steps along the way and just coming back to it more often.
And I think the number one point about getting curious is a really important step, because I have 14s and each one are so incredibly different, and they need me to show up in different ways. And if I don't understand who they are and, what matters to them, those the second and the third step by planting the seed and celebrating maybe isn't going to matter. So the first one is really, I'm glad you made that the number one step, is just to understand who your child is and also yourself and what you need to. So I think you're just so on the right track. Thank you so much. And today is the day I needed to hear that. So thank you. I can't be the only one either. I can't wait for everyone else to hear this message for you. Now, when we talked earlier, Deanne, you had some really good tools for us to use that I'm hoping, if we have just a couple more minutes, could you maybe go through kind of a what we can do right now to make a change? Because becoming a leader, the 3 steps you've talked to us about becoming a leader for our teens, that might take a bit of time, but what can we do right now that can really create a change in our relationship with our teens?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this together. Jennifer, will you do it with me? Just put your hand on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great physical reminder that we're connecting through our heart. And I know that we've all had that moment where we've snuck into our kids' room when they're sleeping and just watched them peacefully sleep and sent our love out to them in that moment. And so we can do that now. We don't have to be physically in the room with them. So just close your eyes and imagine one of your children right now as they are today. Maybe it's a peaceful moment when they're sleeping. Maybe you're picturing them laughing or just sitting quietly, but just bring them into vision in your mind and just feel your heart as an energy of love and just send it out to them. So this is radiating love from your heart space out to your child. So I'll just be quiet for a minute and allow you to just feel that experience of sending that love out to your child. And you might feel your heart space in your chest opening. You might feel a tenderness. You might feel a warmth there. And you're just allowing that energy to flow out to that child. It's like sending them an energetic love letter. And if you're new to this practice and you feel like I have a hard time holding a picture of them in my mind, or I feel like I'm not feeling it happening, that's okay, because it just takes a little bit of practice. And here's the thing, you have just sent loving energy out to your child. And so that's so powerful in the teenage years, because it's not the same. They don't spend as much time with us as they did when they were little. They don't need us in the same physical, close ways that they did. And a lot of moms end up feeling really disconnected. And they say, there's not enough time. I don't know how. I'm not having these high quality connections with them. And that's one way you can have a high quality love connection with your child. And they don't even have to be around, but you can send your love out to them. And it takes loving them from being, often it's in our minds, like, of course I love my kid. Of course I would do anything for them. But that's us thinking about them. And that doesn't actually create a connection in the moment with them. But when we can use the powerful, incredible love we have for them and send that out as a wave of love to them, that does connect us. And they, aren't sitting in class necessarily going like, oh, something's happening. Although some of them, you might feel a difference. But what happens is the next time we're around them, they can feel our loving energy and we'll remember, oh, I had that connection with you earlier. And it softens us a little bit and helps us get curious about who they are. So that actually helps, cultivate the soil in our own hearts to allow that planting of seeds to happen. Because sometimes what happens is, our teens reject us or they're rude and they've had a rough day. And so we kind of build up a wall around our hearts to protect ourselves. But when we are in the practice of connecting through love with them, then it softens us a little bit in the moment so we can really see who they are and see that all that behavior is because of where they are right now. So that activity helps us with the whole process of getting curious about them.
That is beautiful. Losing my voice now. I don't know about anyone else, but I got very emotional there. Because there is so much love, but also the action of putting your hand on your heart, I felt myself breathing deeper and calming myself. And doesn't that feel great? Like that is just a good place to be and a calming place to be, to enable us to send that love. And I hope they all felt a jolt of it because I was sending a lot out. So,
yeah.
thank you so much for that. That is beautiful.
My pleasure. It really is transformational in so many ways because when we can feel like we can be present with our kids and really see them, that's what they want. The biggest compliment I ever heard my teen students giving about their parents is they'd say, my mom really gets me. Like she really completely sees who I am and knows who I am, and it's okay. And I treasured that I heard that from my students saying that about their moms, because that was a good clue to me about what do teenagers really need. They need to feel like they're seen and loved even when they feel like an incredible mess. That's what they need from us. And when we can give that to them and not be afraid of their mess, whatever that means in their lives, their struggles, their difficulties, that's what they need, is to be held in our hearts. And also when we can hold them in our hearts in that way, we also recognize that sometimes we have to draw a really firm boundary, create a really firm limit for them for their own health and safety. And when we have both, we're not just like drawing the line and being hard with them. We also have that incredible tenderness, and they can feel that we're creating those boundaries and limits for them, not because it's out of us and our need for control.
And isn't that wonderful? So now moms can work with you in a number of ways, right? You have your coaching, you do a lot on the phone. I know, so it doesn't matter where they are. And you have your Heart Shift Club as well. And you were saying it's a 10-month group coaching. So I can see value in that too, that you get the connection and the long term, because, you do need not just one time to connect with you and learn one tool, but it is really a process. So I'm glad that you have that. And the Radiant Mom membership you have as well. So people can find that at radiantmom.ca, and they can.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to be able to share this because I can work with more people in my work, which is great. So the Radiant Mom Tribe is on Patreon, and so people can join me there and be a part of monthly Radiant Mom Tribe calls so I can support you. I know sometimes things come up and you're like, I don't need a huge amount of coaching, but I have this one thing that I need to kind of work through. And I also do monthly workshops. So we'll talk about a topic that moms are saying, I really need support in this area. And so I'll do a workshop on that, and we'll do a call on that. So that's the Radiant Mom Tribe. Heart Shift Club is for those moms who say, I need some coaching. I need to work through this. It's 10 months because when we start learning a new way of being, we can slip back into the old way. And so it really supports moms to be consistent. And when they're worried about their teen, or they can feel that things are transitioning and they don't know how to be in a different way, moms say, I want to be non-judgmental and listening and compassionate, but I just don't know how. We work together through that for 10 months because it takes some time for our teens to trust that the changes we're making are going to stick. They're like, yeah, we'll see. We've done this before. You're going to be, I'm not going to yell anymore. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to, support you and listen. And teens get really jaded. They're like, we'll see. This is going to last. So the 10-month program really helps moms to create that transition, because so much we're looking at our kids and seeing them change and transition and grow older. And we don't always recognize that we're changing and transitioning as our teens are. And that whole spectrum of going from junior high to high school to them, they're leaving, that's huge when we've invested, 15, 16, 17 years in parenting in a certain way for our children. To expect ourselves to know how to let a lot of that go, oh gosh, that's a big one. So really helping moms transition in those teenage years. And for some moms, it's helping them figure out, what do I want my life to look like now that I don't have all those mom jobs to do? When my kids are gone, what am I going to do? Who am I now? And so uncovering a lot of those things. So that happens in 10 months in Heart Shift Club. And it really is, I called it Heart Shift because it's about shifting in that heart space. So much of what we do in our culture now is so based on our thinking. And we talk about being mindful, which I absolutely believe in, but we also need to be heartful with our kids, because that's where our power is as moms, is being heartful. And then I do private one-on-one coaching with moms who need more one-on-one, customized, really specific, tailored strategies that will work for their situation. So that's the whole range.
That's awesome. So if any of that spoke to you, you can find Deanne at Parent Teens website or radiantmoms.ca. And I hope you'll come back and really give us more of those tools another time, because I am going to be hand on my heart all day long. I know it. Thank you so much, Deanne, for joining us. And we will see you in the Parent Teens website. And I hope that all of the parents that have connected with what you are speaking about today will just reach out and find you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.